Hello. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about akatas versus Caucasians, or as some would say, refer them to, white Americans or whites. So yes, we're going to be discussing that. We're going to be doing a compare and contrast on that. I feel like that's the best thing that should be happening now. I think I did kind of touch on this video previously, or this topic with, I labeled it as Akata versus Black or Africans. And it's like, I don't think that that was a very fair video. I like to be very, very just. And I like to make sure that I have a good comparison theory within the two topics that I'm referring to. So on that previous video, I don't think that I made a great correlation in terms of Africans versus, akatas. Because basically it's like there's really nothing to compare to. Once after the transatlantic slave happened and the slaves were sold to America, the only people they could really compare to there in America was white people. So just in all fairness, I can't even come and say there was any comparison between Blacks and then Africans. We were in a whole different continent, not even different country, but a whole separate continent across the river, street, like not even the same. So I kind of felt it was disrespectful to even put those two words in the same category, because it doesn't provide a good, fair analysis. So the people that can really be compared and you can see similarities and difference to is white, because they've lived with each other and worked with each other for 400 years. That has nothing to do with an original African that was living in America. That was living in her respective country, Africa. So, so let's get right into it. Since, my primary residence is in America, I want to kind of discuss that. If you guys don't already know, I come from Africa. I come from Nigeria, to be precise. So apparently we participated in the transatlantic slave trade, which I didn't know. I didn't know Nigeria played a big part in that, but we did. So yes, I kind of want to discuss that. I don't think it was just a fair comparison analysis. Africans, we speak a different language, we have different morals, different ethics, different standards. So that it wouldn't be fair to kind of compare with someone that's almost a bit 100% foreign than what I am, So yeah, in the previous video, I kind of did mention that, I did not like African Americans. That's the reason I am creating this video. That analysis and statement has changed greatly. Not greatly, but to some extent. So I will say I cannot put all the blame for the turmoil of what America is and the slaves and everything like that. I'm not going to put all the blame back on the former slaves, Blacks, akatas, as I would refer them to. It just can't be their fault, right? Someone purchased them, put them in this country, and that is why they're here. They're here for a reason. So yes, with that being said, I just wanted to mention that it's a two-way street. So I also have to address the people that bought them and, did these things, which is the white Americans. So that's why they're labeled in this video. We're going to do a comparison and contrast analysis on that. And I'm going to kind of give you guys the briefing on what I feel is the consensus when it comes down to these individuals and akatas and why they act the way they do, So let's go ahead and get right into it. So basically, I do want to take back that it's not that I do like Black Americans. Trust me, I do. And I don't want to make the statement just for like applies to all, like such a general statement that every single person, no, because I have had very, very nice African Americans help me out, like good Samaritans. So not all of them are bad. I do think that's a false statement for me to make and very, very condescending. Not all Black Americans, or akatas as we refer to them in Africa, are bad. They're not terrible people. If that's the case, my mom wouldn't have received assistance with paying her rent, or, you know, buying us snacks and things with one of our, you know, close associates that was, you know, a Black American. That wouldn't have happened, you know. I remember from the age of 9, she would always come and help us. So, you know, it's not fair to say that. But what I do have enough report to speak on is white versus Black Americans. So it's not that I dislike Black Americans, but I do believe they are 100% of the reason and cause to their demise. They are like an autoimmune disorder. They break down themselves so bad. You know, it doesn't even have to be a white person doing this to them. This is just you on your own with your slavery mentality fucking up your life. You know, so that's basically what I want to kind of discuss in this video today. I also do want to touch on the white Americans too. They don't make it any easier. Sometimes their mental health just gets the best of them, and they don't even know how to say, hey, I'm going through hell right now in my brain. I suck right now. This is not one of my best days. I need to go home and retreat and reconvene and get back to you. Some white people, because they've always held that standard of being a master and this, that, it's still embedded into their brains that they're always 100% going to be right. They cannot do any wrong. You know, white Americans, they typically know their country, right? I'm not going to lie and say they're foreigners here, or they got sold and bought to be here. They're not slaves, but, you know, there's times that obviously if someone knows everything in the world, it's just impossible to do that or to know that, you know? So they do kind of feel a little shameful whenever they don't probably know something. I do think that it hurts their ego a bit. They're very, very egotistical people. So yes, I do want to definitely point that out as well. However, with that being said, I think just to make a great analysis here, Black people are the only people hindering themselves. They are. I know they've told me in different videos they don't like me using the word Akata. Well, I am going to be using that word. If you don't like it, watch another video. But I'm going to be using the word Akata because that best describes them. They are not original Africans. They were sold off during the transatlantic slave. And a lot of them, as sad as it sounds, were lost during that period in time. They didn't know their connections or who their biological father and moms were. So that's why you get a lot of confusion in the Black American society, where they want to do paternity tests and, you know, baby daddy, baby father, you know, and they really need to cut that generational curse off. Some of them even know it exists too. They're like, oh, you know, but as soon as you talk about a Black person, they get so defensive. And it's like, you have to always do your self-reflection. If you don't, you could end up hurting yourself because you don't love yourself or don't even give a damn about yourself. To be realistic, you know? So that's just the thing I do want to comment on, you know, that is an appropriate term for me to use. I can use it because I am an original African. And yeah, if you do not like it, oh well. Now, with that being said, I do feel that there needs to be a lot of self-reflection in the Black community. I do believe Donald Trump was 100% correct when he stated that Black jobs, you know, he was saying these are the kind of Black jobs. And when he made reference to that to me is just like an insult to Black people, you know, because if you really look at statistics now, the people that are higher ups, the people that are moving up the ladder are white people. These are people that are CEOs. Some white people don't even need work jobs. Some people a lot of them own their own businesses, are making multi-millions of dollars. NFL, you know, those guys, they get $200 to $300 million contracts, $1 million contracts, literally. So, and that's not a job. That's just more so like a contract pay grade, you know, like a independent contractor, I would say. Self-employed is what it's called. But it was an embarrassing statement to say a Black job, because unfortunately minorities do gravitate towards jobs. Black people, Akata people love jobs. They love jobs to the point that they love to even get you fired. So let it be that they don't like you, they don't want this, they're gonna get you fired. And honestly, I think a lot of the times now, the people that are really seeking employment are minority people, women, African Americans, blacks. I don't really, unless it's probably like 2% or some, you really don't see that much white people going to apply for jobs because they kind of already know what's going to work for them and how that's going to help them and, give them the best return on their investment. So it's not to say one is greater than the other, but he was definitely 100% correct when he said black job. So, and it's terrible, black people value the wrong things. A lot of people think, with all this money, I'm going to go shopping, this, that. And if you don't know how to make your money work for you, you're always going to be needing a job. That's just what it is. I've retired from jobs. So no one can even, I'm self-employed. So once I take at least 2 to 3 trades a day, I am closing out my trades and chunking up my deuces. As long as my bills is paid, I am good. So that's just that. I wanted to make sure that people understood what, the black job meant and to see how disparaging that is. You really shouldn't be 40, 50 years old trying to connive with people on how to fire someone or doing a whole group gang, black community gang against co-workers and shit. I think that's very, very childish. And I think it's not going to help them progress or succeed. There are people, people are still going to look at you, look down on you, So, I hate that that's the case for black people, but it's just something that's conditioned into their mindset. They don't see anything wrong with working a job. And the biggest revelation with him saying black job is that working a job now is like modern day slavery. It may not be like, back in the 400 years ago, like actual slaves working. Obviously, that's illegal. But this is modern day slavery where you're saying, okay, I will devote 80 hours every 2 weeks and, receive a check for it. That is basically an insult. That's why I said that earlier. Working a job, which is what black people value the most so they can get a check and make it, is an insult to your intelligence. Some people have brilliant minds and you cannot devote your whole life to a job. I definitely don't think that's how that is going to pan out. Something needs to click to where it's like you're able to make a lot of money in a short period of time. Now, with black people, they think this is just a normal thing. Sure, I need to work to feed my family. But if there's no innovative minds or creations to that, you are going to be subjected to working a black job. That's embarrassing. I don't want anyone to ever mistake me for a slave, a modern day slave, nothing to that tune. At all. That's why I simply just retired from nursing. I'm not breaking my back for no patient. You cannot pay me enough to even have my presence there. Literally. Like, it's to the point where it's like, I retired earlier this year as a nurse. I said, I have no time. This is just shenanigans that I'm enduring because of a check. And it's terrible, but it's the truth. He's an American. I think that's why he won his presidency because he was able to identify those clauses, and I don't want to work no black job. I don't want to work at no call center. I don't want to work here. I don't want to do none of this because those people, black people, they just know how to break each other down. Nobody uplifts anybody in those fields. They are always jealous. You come in looking better than them, that's a problem. And I think it's just remnants from the slavery days that makes them so pissed off and angry that they just don't know how to control it. And I get really scared of the ones that are always smiling and say, hey, have a good day. How are you? Oh, not to be mean or anything. Some of them are very nice, but some just don't know how to turn that switch on and off. And when you turn the switch off, it's probably, a big old hassle, a big old issue, and cursing you out, firing you. Like, I can tell you how many jobs I've lost due to a Black person. It's terrible. It really is, and this is something that is just like, until they know how to just fix it, deal with whatever slavery mindset you've been put under a condition to, and just get over with and face the bigger picture, they're always going to be under turmoil, so yeah, that's why I decided I'm not doing a job. I'm sorry. I'm not doing the nursing. I'm not being labeled in that sense. But just in general, Black people take their anger out on people daily. They're still mad about being enslaved for 400 years. Trust me, I would be too. But, it just worked out that, God made it possible for me to still remain in Africa with my family and make it well. I'm not here stressed about a job. I've been blessed with a great career mindset that helps me make money without clocking into anybody's time clock. So I'm very, very excited about that. But at the same time, it's just like, if you never change your mindset, you will always be last in life. There's no exceptions to that. There's no way to get out of it unless you want to be a prostitute, or you're trying to do this or that, which I would never do. But it's just to let you know, like, that's really just the way it is when it comes down to Black people, and it was sad, but I'm glad he won. I'm glad he spoke the truth. And I think Black people really do need a change. They say they don't want to be called Akata. Well, it's who you are. Deal with it. Face your reality and do a lot of self-reflection, because the acting, the facade, it just always comes out and reveals itself at the end. So it's like, why do it? Like I mentioned in a previous video, I once got punched by an Akata girl because she was confused and she was lost, and this was a person that was always smiling at work, saying, hey, how are you? Hi, hey, this is that. She was a lesbian Black girl. She punched me in the face because she said, you didn't go pick up my sister. She was calling me. I didn't see you. And I'm like, your sister didn't call me. That didn't even matter to her. She used her fist and punched me twice in my mouth. I was like, first of all, I'm in shock, because you come off so nice. That's what a lot of them do. They come off so nice. They come off so contained. They come off so can have my life in order and everything. It's possible. They come across like they haven't gone through anything in life. But I think the reality is they've gone through hell. Who wants to be enslaved for 400 years? But they've gone through hell, but they do a great job at faking it. But as soon as it comes down to you get them angry, you better run. And I think that's what a lot of white people will tell you. They always, during the traffic stops, they try to say, is your hand on a gun? Because Black people will shoot you. They will do the craziest things that I have ever seen and heard. They will do it. So even white people are somewhat scared. You will never see a white person living in the hood, or, it has to be the suburbs or nothing. Afford the taxes here before you got to be able to afford the taxes before you could come and even live in the vicinity of, majority of white people, because it's just, nobody wants that drama. Nobody wants to be shot. Nobody wants to be stabbed. They do a lot of stabbing too. I'm glad I didn't get stabbed that day. I will take the punches in my mouth. I'm fine, but they do a lot for nothing, for no reason. So I had to go home because she started threatening to break my mom's driver door. I'm like, this is my mom's car, my sweet, poor little mom that didn't do shit to nobody. This bastard is threatening to break my mom's door. Hell no. I know how much my mom suffered after they stole her other car. This is the car she now has. It wasn't her primary source of car, but it was her secondary car that helped. I'm like, I got to get out of this neck of the woods. Hell no. Nobody's going to make my life in shambles because you are a miserable bitch. Not happening. So I think a lot of the guys now are learning that they do need to get into some type of business or start something for yourself. Start a YouTube channel, start selling shirts, sell some shorts, do a course, do something, get into trading, something. Because those guys the black guys are definitely getting it, but the women that stay at these jobs are toxic prone individuals that are not making it in life. This is why they are miserable. So I don't even engage with them. I think just recently, and it's sad. I think you really get to see how terrible black people are when you move down to the South. And just not even the South, but when you work at these so-called black jobs, call center jobs, I think black jobs are like working at McDonald's. Jesus Christ. Different black jobs, out there, but it's just like mainly it's call centers, and I've done a lot of those, and it's just like I've seen the nastiest people in actions and attitudes with working at call centers. It was just depravity at its finest. So literally, I think I got into the one of a call center worker. This miserable girl, and I'm going to leak the messages too and show it. She started messaging me and saying, I'm going to come and beat your ass. I know exactly where you live. I know your name. I know everything about you. Da 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 da. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong with her? I'm not an employee. I'm not one of your close friends for you to come and call and be telling me this, ma'am. You need to handle your emotions and handle your job. And the way I knew she knew my address was because I'm not famous or popular. But she's like, oh yeah, she's calling from a New Jersey number. Not only did she have a New Jersey number, she was able to look up my account because I call this call center where you have to give your address, you give your name. And I'm like, ma'am, what are you trying to get out of this? This doesn't make any sense. And she's like, I'm going to come and beat your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. I'm like, girl, delusional. So I think that's where the term delulu really comes from, is with black women. They don't know how to control it. They are a mental shit show walking in plain sight. That's who they are. So for me, I don't have the time. I've retired from anything that has to do with the job. I am focusing on investing my money, making my money work for me, because that's the only way to achieve any sense of fun or excitement or enjoyment in my life. I plan to have kids in the future. I do not want them to know what these two words are: renting and jobs. Those 4-letter words are the most annoying thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. Paying rent, working a job. And now it's like, I don't even want, they're not going to feel comfortable working a job because it's like they're going to be labeled as working a black job. So black job has such a negative connotation now, and it always forever will, because the president uses that so fervently, like it's nothing. So I have to protect me, my future, and my life. And it's the reason why I'm no longer working jobs, because I don't want to be labeled like that. I'm too smart. I have different things I'm doing. I have a YouTube channel to grow. I have trading that's so lucrative. I think they said $1 trillion were added to the market recently, crypto market, which was like last month. So there's money to be made, and it's not via a black job. I'm not gonna be labeled a modern slave in America. We're not doing that reincarnated type of crap or reinventing that, and no. So the difference with white people that I wanted to also point out too is that they have learned from their mistakes. I have to call a spade a spade. White people can be very confusing. They can be very convoluted because obviously the one problem I do have to point out with them is that they struggle mentally. And I said this earlier through the video. They battle mental health issues. Anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, ADHD. That's a total of 5 things. So they suffer so bad with these things, and it's like, sometimes they don't even take medication. Sometimes they do self-harm to each other. They try to commit suicide, and it's like they're their own worst enemies. So just the same way that black people are their own worst enemies, the same thing for white people. They don't get a pass either. Their mental health always ages and deteriorates so fucking fast. It got to the point that I had an appointment to go to a hospital, and it was like predominantly white people. There wasn't really much black people there. And I was glad, the staff, the nurses and doctors was not that black, because I'm just like, I don't know what could happen here. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know who's going to leak my information. Like I said, 2 weeks prior, I already had a black call center lady cursing me out, texting me and saying she's going to find me and beat me and threaten me. And I'm like, yeah, you are definitely an Akata, and I'm going to say it because I have evidence, I have information, I have direct evidence to where I can show that these people are unhinged. White people are not as much as unhinged. I feel like black people show the external unhingedness. They go off the rails when they're upset. With white people, it's more so internal. It's an internal unhinging, and it's like they hurt the people that are closest to them, like their mom, their sister, their child, or sometimes even themselves. Like, I think the suicide rates for men is like so high when it comes down to Caucasians, because they know if they're going through something mentally and battling that way, they're gonna come back and be honest with themselves and delete themselves, unalive themselves. So it's just a sense of like, I feel like in terms of who's more accountable, it is white people. But I feel like that's the only problem I can say. But other than that, they know how to treat people now. They know this slavery's over. No one's going to praise that. It is done and over with, But yeah, back to the story with the hospital. I went to the hospital. It was predominantly, Caucasians there. I wasn't upset. I knew the doctor before. I think he was Italian, but it was just like a sense of, he's still Caucasian, regardless of Italian or not, but he was still sort of like confused, I felt. And then when he came up, there was a discrepancy with registration and transportation. He came up to me and asked me to sit down because I think he was just mentally drained. Basically came in and asked me, okay, have a seat or sit down. He didn't say, please have a seat. He didn't say, he didn't say anything like that. He was just like, sit down. And I'm like, I would rather stand. So already I could tell he's off the hinges. He didn't ask me, how am I doing? He didn't say anything to me. He didn't care to know about that. So that's when I knew, okay, white people really struggle mentally. And this was a surgeon. This surgeon was like in his 50s. And I'm just like, you don't know how to come into the room and, talk to a patient normally. There's no trust there. I had to end up canceling that surgery because you're not going to talk to me like I'm an idiot. You talk to the nurses like that, not me, and as soon as he walked up, I actually exited the room once he said he didn't know about the transportation in this. Then the nurse was like, please just stay, we'll look into it. And I said, I would definitely stand out here. I will stand out here, but I'm not going into the room to be attacked by a doctor again. That's not going to be my problem. So I stood there in the hallway and he walked over to me and said, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable. Literally, you are going through your manic phase or whatever you have, whatever chemical imbalance you have, and you're trying to come to me to tell me I don't feel comfortable. Guess what, smartass? You created this appointment. You did this. You elected to say you're going to be the surgeon doing this, and now you don't feel comfortable. So a lot of white people deal with cowardness. They are big cowards. And that's something that's just like, okay, I don't, if you're going to be a coward on your own end, on your own time. It has nothing to do with me. So that's when I just realized, like, yeah, white people struggle. And this was a board certified doctor, surgeon. And I'm like, wow, that is embarrassing on his end, because it's just, why would you come to surgery day unprepared and you're telling me how uncomfortable you feel? That's a red flag for anybody to even want to come and go under the knife with you. Like, I've had 2 surgeries in the past, or 3, and none of the doctors have ever told me how uncomfortable they felt. So I'm just like, he's definitely having his psychotic breakdown, and it has nothing to do with me. So I ended up canceling and leaving, but that's just to show you guys, like, white people struggle just like Black people. And I think Black people struggle more out in society, like outwards. You know, I went to a YMCA recently and saw a lot of, you know, African Americans there with a couple of, you know, I think only like 1 or 2 Caucasians, but it was majority Blacks. So I was just like, oh my God, this is, doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is crazy, but it makes sense. But at this point in time, I am just like, it's all about me at this point. I need to make sure that I am making it for me. I cannot deal with someone's mental crap, you know, and it sucks, but that's white people. They're cowards, but they always know how to still treat you like a human being at the end of the day. Black people, however, struggle with that. They do. They struggle miserably with knowing how to treat you like a human being, because guess what? How does psychology work? If they never got treated well as human beings, which even in the Black communities, some Black families still treat their own people like shit, which I've seen, it's going to be a difficult roller coaster. They won't know what's good or how to treat you good. They're just going to know how to fake it. But when it's like faking it doesn't count anymore, what do? You know? So that's just something I wanted to point out there. Like it is crap. You know, it is nothing but pure crap when you're dealing with Akata people. I think even as recent as last year, I tried to apply for a position. I was looking for a job because I was just like still studying for my boards. I wasn't a licensed nurse yet, so I still had to study for that. But I was like, let me just have a job just to peel back time and do something, so I'm not like fully broke, you know, before I transition into nursing. While I'm still studying my boards, just in case I fail my boards, you know, but I did pass. But so yeah, it was basically a Black quote unquote job, a call center. They were so nice during the interview. They're like, yeah, we'll love to have you. Come on. Yeah, we'll love to have you on. Yes, come on. You know, this is that. They love you. You sounds good. Great. We want you to bring you on. And these were all predominantly Black people. So he kept pestering me. He was like, we really want to know your reference. You know, you're supposed to have 3. You know, I was like, I only have 1 reference right now. I'm sorry. But he's like, it's fine. Just come on. We'll work something out with you. He was desperate to bring me on into the miserableness. I didn't know why he was so desperate, but something told me like, this job is like crazy right now. This doesn't sound too well. They were hiring for $21 an hour. So I was like, wow, this sounds good. This sounds great. You know, when he said that, I was like, oh my God, I'm definitely going to love working here. $21.50 an hour before I get into nursing. Okay, I want to do this. So the red flags, guys, you need a total of 3 references. He kept saying, I told him I didn't have 3. He's like, okay, I'll just take the one you have. He called it, he confirmed. Then, you know, he was like, okay, great. They want to offer you. Let's get your offer letter. And I'm like, what is going on here? Mind you, this job is in South Carolina. So it's basically, I think South Carolina is more racist than North Carolina. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. But he's a Black. I don't know if he was just, I don't know. But he just sounded like he really needed someone to work. And he needed to hire, and he kept calling me, pestering me, texting me and calling me. And I'm like, what is wrong with this? Is he off the rails? What's going on here? You know? So I finally gave in. I said, okay, you know, that's the 1 reference. He said, great, we'll have you started on this date. So he says, okay, it's $21 an hour. But then 24 hours later, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. The rate is actually going to be $16 an hour. You know, that's the hours you're going to be working, you know, or that's the rate you're going to be getting. I'm like, that's a fucking $6 drop, you know, like, well, but I'm like, okay, let me give in. Mind you, this is the 2nd red flag. The 3rd red flag is I get into training, right? So I'm in training. Then the next thing is they're so strict in training. If you get up and you put, I'm going to be back in 2 minutes, or I'm going to go do this, they attack you. The Black ladies there were terrible. The Akata women were terrible. And it was one Akata lady there conducting the orientation. And I'm like, what in the world? So basically she waited after class to tell me all of this. And then She was like, guys, you cannot be late or anything like that. You will get terminated so fast. And I'm like, is she okay? Are they fine? I feel like I'm talking to a robot here. Like military time. I'm talking to you like they are just so anxiety driven people, you know, is what I got from that job. And mind you guys, the next day, my second day on orientation, I had to go pick up some groceries downstairs. Plus I had to wash some dishes. So I definitely put in the chat, okay, I'm going to be right back. You know, the trainer said, oh, let me go ahead and pick this time to tell her to read this statement here on the screen. And I'm like, why the hell would you pick that time? I just said, I'm going to be right back and I'm coming right back. So I cannot read if I'm not going to be at my desk. Then she waited till the end of things to say, oh yeah, you weren't paying attention. You're not allowed to be absent during class, yada, yada, yada. Guess what? You're fired. And I said, this is what Donald Trump meant by black job. These people are delusional bastards, anxiety driven people that do act like slaves. You know, you act like a modern day slave. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. There's no great $1 million check you're going to get at the end of this. Like, think out of the fucking box. So I just don't know what she got out of saying, waiting for me to do that, then saying, oh yeah, I think you were late, you were missing presentation. Even though I did put in the chat, I'll be right back. That still wasn't enough for her. So I said, yeah, he was not lying when he said black job. So I took that as okay, hell no, that was the big ultimate third red flag. And it was just useless because they sent me the computers. They were like, yeah, you're going to love this job and all of that. You know, sent me the fucking computers and all of this. And now it's like, as soon as it's time or somebody doesn't like you in this black driven job, they're going to tell you you're fired. So now I had to send it all back, send the equipment back. An HR lady called me and was like, yeah, the trainer felt this and this about you. And I'm sorry, we have to let you go. We have a strict policy. So I'm just like, I didn't even understand the policy. I'm sorry. So you cannot put that you're going to be back for 5 minutes and then do that. Like, they're literally stalking you and what you're doing virtually. Like, okay. So that for me was a hell no. And I just said, vow to never, ever work apply for any online jobs, things that I don't know, like things that are just way too easy to get into, especially if there's like a red flag underneath that. I'm like, okay, forget about it. So yeah, black people tend to be their own worst enemy. And any place, I'm sad to say this, but anytime that I see, you know, black people in a job or something like that, my anxiety does kick in because I don't know I don't know if I'm going to get punched in the face. I don't know if they're going to deny me service. I don't literally the worst things in my life has happened to me under the hands of black people. There's a time I tried to apply for a job at a call center. The lady said, we're not hiring right now. And she just shut the door in my face and was like, that's it. She was a black lady, you know? And I'm like, wow. That's very unprofessional. Like, you just shut the door in my face and say, we're not hiring right now. And I'm like, I'm just asking questions, ma'am. Like, they're very, very rude, arrogant people. Not all, but some. A majority are. I want to say 90% of African Americans are very rude people. Arrogant as well. And I understand they've been enslaved for 400 years. White people have put them through crap. But you don't need to attack all the freaking time. Nobody's going to want to be around you. Like, I don't even want to support no black businesses because I'm like, I don't know who's going to deny me service. If you leave an honest review under their page, they will attack you. They'll say, you're coming for a black business. You're a hater, this, that. You can never be honest in the face of a black person because they're going to take it so personal and they're so fragile. Their mindset is so fragile. You know, I think I don't know if you guys heard about the TikToker. No, not TikToker, but a very successful black lady from Florida, or was it Texas, hired someone to kill her arch nemesis because the person left a bad review about her company, was hurting her business, I guess. And I'm like, now you want to go ahead and delete this person? Has it really come to that point? It just doesn't make any sense. And now she's sitting in jail. and no one could care less about her business. So I don't support Black businesses. It's not something I'm going to do. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to put out there. Let me know what your comments are down below. What do you think about those statements I've made? I think they're very accurate if you've lived in America, obviously, and if you've worked jobs, virtually worked from home and also worked outside of home, you know, I think it can be very true. So let me know what you guys think down below, and thank you so much for tuning in.